Hey guys, SK here, back with another Clash Royale video. Hope you guys are all doing well. Today we have my friend Smok back on the channel as a special guest. You might remember him from the top 25 ladder push video with Xbow Cycle a little bit ago. Well, now he's number 4 in the entire world in the Double Evolution tournament, and he was actually number 1 in the world at the time of playing these games. So in today's video, I'll be bringing him on and showcasing the games that got him number 1 in the world with Xbow Cycle. As you can see from his profile, he just finished number 28 on ladder last season with this variant. So he's one of the best players with this Xbow Cycle deck at the moment and has been improving a lot. And as I said, I have a bunch of replays from him to show to you guys today to show you how to play this deck and just how he was able to achieve this. We have some wins against Giant Monk. We have a win where he says he got sniped. So we have some crazy stuff in store for you guys today. So for this first game, it's against Giant Skeleton Graveyard, and Smok actually told me that he got sniped because this guy was playing a different deck before, and I didn't think it was a snipe when I first looked at it, but looking at it now and after him telling me it's literally a snipe, I can kind of see it because, I mean, he has Giant Skeleton and Evo Knight, so that alone coupled with the LP is enough to never let you get an Expo lock. And then he also has a log, which is something you would never see in a graveyard deck, so that honestly does also tell me that it's kind of weird how, you know, he would just play this deck, and I've never seen this deck before in my life, actually, this Giant Skeleton Graveyard deck. So I mean, I saw it in the Triple Elixir tournament, but not in standard format still, and definitely not with a log. So we're going to see how Smok was able to win this one, and as I said, guys, I'll just be bringing him on the channel to showcase his games today, and we have 4 games to get through. 2 wins, as you saw, were against Giant Monk, so honestly very impressive, and I myself am trying to improve a lot with this variation of Expo because it is by far the best version of Xbow Cycle in the meta. So if you guys like Expo as much as me and want to play it to success, I'd recommend learning this version of the deck, and hopefully this video can, you know, bring a top player on, can serve as an educational type of exhibition to show you how to play it. Now this guy goes for a Tesla, and it's honestly pretty rare that Graveyard would have a Tesla at all. There are actually some versions that I've seen, you know, Evo Knight, Evo Tesla, in CRL especially. My friend made a set for me that had Evo Knight, Evo Tesla as well, but I just think that it's pretty catered towards countering Expo, of course. So the main benefit of this Expo deck, I'd say, is definitely the fact that it has a Rocket, as well as the Little Prince, of course, but Expo is obviously not the greatest win condition. I wouldn't say it's like absolutely trash, but in many situations you can't really break through with the card, so it's going to be really hard to, you know, get the damage that you need. And so it's actually pretty nice to have something like a Rocket where you have a secondary win condition that can actually do pretty well and let you get tower damage in a situation where you wouldn't be able to otherwise. This is pretty easily defended by the opponent. I mean, he has Giant Skeleton, he has Little Prince. Little Prince ability just shuts down an Expo, so pretty tough. But you'll notice that the cycle is so messed up right now, and Smok definitely knows that. So he's probably going to go Expo, and then I think he would go Prediction Tesla with it as well. We'll find out. I mean, it's Double Elixir. He does not. He actually waits, and that's actually fine to do with the Evo Tesla, because as you can see, that Pulse does reset anything on the bow, so including an opposing bomb tower, Tesla, any kind of building, Evo Tesla does take care of that. So you actually don't really need to just go for a naked Tesla necessarily. Predicting anything, you can react with the Evo Tesla. So Smok's going to get a Rocket on the tower. That's going to be his first ever instance of proper tower damage, because obviously Expo was not able to break through no matter what. I mean, it does just get countered by a Tesla by itself. And Evo Tesla pre-placed. Honestly, I think that might be a misplay though, because I don't know if that reaches the Expo when played in the far right corner in the right, so we'll find out about that. But Smok having to commit quite a lot to this Graveyard, it still gets a couple skeleton hits because Graveyard is kind of ridiculous. Smok probably just going to Rocket back right now. Yeah, interesting that he's going same lane, by the way, because honestly against Graveyard, I would always like to go opposite lane, especially if they have a big spell. If it's like Graveyard Freeze, then sure, but you'll notice if Smok ever goes for an Expo in the left right now, it's going to get Poison Logged. Like low Knight, then Poison plus Log will kill it, so it's pretty tough to ever get damage in the lane that you want, and that's why you usually go opposite lane. This Evo Tesla is probably going to put in work on the Graveyard. Yep, look at that. Comes up in pulses, cleaning up so many skeletons. Then we get an E-Spirit to take even more. That's actually no skeleton damage from the Graveyard as far as I'm aware, so really good defense there. Evo Tesla is a very strong card, of course, and it is a very nice option to counter the Graveyard. This deck does not have the best Graveyard defense, like, per se. We don't have, you know, archers or goblins, like those are standard traditional Graveyard counters, but we do have a lot of like cheap options to defend Graveyards effectively. You know, we have Evo Skellies if we need them, we have Log, LP, E-Spirit, like usually some combination of Log, Skellies, E-Spirit, LP, Knight. Any, like, say 3 of those cards can probably defend a Graveyard for the most part. Still a very tense game right now, and I don't think Smok's going to Rocket, because you'll notice it's very important to choose when to Rocket with this deck. You don't just Rocket randomly. but you need to like have a good advantage and position on the board right now. That's not really the case at the current moment. Really nice LP, by the way. Notice Smok's placement, guys, because the opponent does in fact have a poison, and Smok doesn't want to give him any value with the tower and the LP with that poison, so he's playing his LP very high up. LP's on the opponent LP right now. Evo Knight's going to come down, but not before he gets killed by the log, which is crucial because this 3-card cycle would cause a lot of problems. Also, really nice bridge blocking by Smok here. And he's actually leaning on the defensive Teslas. That's very creative because I probably would not have done that. I would have probably been spamming, like, you know, high Teslas, trying to get value, but Smok's actually leaning on the Evo Tesla to defend the graveyard, and another Evo Tesla, or rather, I meant normal Tesla to defend the graveyard, but Evo Tesla does come down to defend. He's going to have to rocket once. He can't rocket twice, though, so he's going to rocket once. He has to defend all damage with a 0 dagger Duchess. Can he do it? One skeleton getting to the tower already. E-Spirit does chain on everything. Knight, Evo Skellies, and that is so close. Even one skeleton hit would have lost in the game, guys, but perfect defense. I loved how he used the Teslas to, like, lean on that and defend the graveyards, and that was a win against the snipe deck. Alright guys, we're getting to the next game, and this is one that I definitely want to take a look at. It's against Hush, and this is a matchup that I personally despise. This is probably the best deck in the meta right now. Finished number 1 and number 2 in the world last season. I think there were more in the top 10, definitely a lot more in the top 100. That said, you have to be a pretty good player to play it to its full potential. Like, you know, someone like Ian or Riley can bring it to its full potential because they're great micro players and cycle players in general, but this deck is so broken. You can literally win against anything, and it's just a better version of Xbow. It's pretty much the same deck as us, except they do have the Princess instead of the Xbow, which I would honestly say is a better version of the Xbow. Like, that's a conversation for another day, but there's no, like, real question about it. This deck is so broken and, like, good in the meta. It's just insane, and high Tesla comes down. Smok might Expo right now, because when they go for a pre-Tesla like that, I usually like to Expo to punish it. But as you can see, like, don't even need to rocket, really. He's going to be able to defend if he pops the ability on this, and he does, and that's going to kill the Expo. Even though Smok literally protected his Expo well, you know, he went for the LP, some cycle cards as well, and it still wasn't enough, and now he's getting punished by Princess Bridge. Going to get 2 hits. This is what I mean. Princess costs half the elixir of an Expo, and look at how much it got compared to the Expo. The Expo was impossible to break through with. Princess is just a better Expo, in my personal opinion. Of course, I'm kind of biased, but yeah. On another note, if you guys do enjoy the video, please be sure to like and subscribe. I've been doing my best, you know, getting some content out for you guys. I'm going to be covering my own global tournament soon, trying my best to reach the top 1,000 with Xbow Cycle, and I'm doing my best to, you know, help you guys learn this as well as you can, these new variants of Xbow, by bringing on some of the best players in the world like Smok, reaching number 1 in the world. So if you guys do appreciate the effort, would really appreciate any kind of support you would show. Moving back to this game, though, we see a pre-Tesla by Smok, a way I like to play this matchup, and wow, I actually don't understand how that happened. He misplaces Expo, which is very unfortunate, but I also don't really get how that happened, because he wasn't, like, panicking or anything. He just played an Expo at 10 elixir, so that's just very unfortunate. But honestly, that is a mistake that might cost him the game. Obviously, we saw he won this game, so that's not what cost him the game, but it did just give the opponent a free rocket on him. Smok rockets back, but he's still, like, you know, down damage because of the Princess, and still down elixir as well. The opponent has a Tesla on the board, and he is still up as well. Great catch on that by Smok. The way to play this matchup for sure is catching every Princess past a certain point. Like, you just can't allow them to get away with Princess Bridge all the time, and if they rocket you, you pretty much have to rocket them back. Like, you can't just go for Expos, because you saw what happened last time. The Expo just does not break through. So Smok is going to have to break through with an Expo this time, though. That's for sure, because I don't really see how he's going to win this if he doesn't. And the Evo Tesla is so, like, oppressive there. It's honestly such a good card. Like, obviously we have it, and it's a strong card for us, but it's also so good for them, because any, like, cycle deck, especially this one, can shut down Expo so easily with their own Evo Tesla. Anyways, looks like the opponent's trying to get away with a non-rocket defense on this Expo right now, which is kind of a mistake, because I mean, he can do it, but he's kind of digging himself a deep hole. Smok's in a rocket, and he's probably gonna get rocketed back, but not before he gets a nice elixir advantage. As you can see, the opponent's still playing stuff, and it kind of just gave Smok a free rocket there. It's kind of a misplay in my opinion. That said, Evo Knight's definitely a big bailout nonetheless, and gonna counter pretty well. We're gonna see a Tesla, maybe a Tesla of Smok's own, yup, to counter this opposing Tesla, but it does get pretty well defended by the opponent now, and honestly, the opponent can just rocket tower if he wants. Like, literally he can, and he does, and there's not much Smok can do about it. Goes for the E-Spirit to reset and keep the LP alive, but this is still looking dire. He's gonna have to find a way to break through somehow. Skeletons come down. It's honestly huge that the Skeletons did not kill or not get killed by the princess. And look at that guy, Smok actually gets the connection because the LP ability did not come down in time, and the reason for that is because he caught the ability in time with the E-Spirit. Like, the opponent definitely wanted to go ability, right? But Smok went E-Spirit on the little prince, stunning it in place and keeping it, like, I guess just not able to do anything, kind of I don't know the word I'm looking for, but kind of just like inanimate, I guess, not doing anything while it's stunned. And so the ability came out late, and the opponent was not ready for that, and Smok just gets the win off of that. So very nice comeback, nice pressure. That's kind of how you have to play the matchup. You have to rock it back, but you still have to apply Xbow pressure at the same time. Alright guys, now we're getting into the real bread and butter of things. That was a nice game for sure, but it wasn't the cleanest. You know, it had an Xbow misplay, and the opponent got a lot of Princess Bridge damage. But now we're going to get into the real meat and bones. We're going to get Giant Monk, and honestly, I'd say this match is definitely winnable, but it's not good at all, because Monk itself is such a good counter to Xbow, everyone knows that. But it's also a great counter to the Duchess, and it actually enables a mini win condition in of itself, because you can literally just go Monk and you can get tower damage with reflecting the dagger Duchess back to herself, and it does so much damage because, you know, she has crazy high burst output, and you can usually reflect at least 6 daggers back to her if you time the Monk ability right, and that's a lot of damage. I think at top level it's almost 500 damage. Not sure about tourney standard, but it is a lot, and again, it is a mini win condition, so gonna be tough to see how you can deal with a matchup like this, but a Smok obviously is able to do so. I was able to beat it myself with Xbow on one of my accounts. I beat Giant Monk a few times. It's definitely, like, it feels like a very tough matchup, but if you play perfectly, especially against a worse player, you can outplay them and win with Spell Cycle. Again, a big part of this deck that I'm trying to talk about, but I just want to reinforce it, is that you have to get comfortable with the idea that you might never get an Xbow connection, and so you have to get damage with rockets. It's the sad reality of the meta, because Xbow gets countered by so much. You know, they have the Void, they have the Monk right now, they have Giant, Royal Giant decks, like, just so many counters to Xbow. A lot of big tanks like Evo Knight, Rocket as well, so you need Rocket yourself to get tower damage, and that's fine. I mean, it's a viable win condition. Obviously, Rocket Cycle is actually strong, considering that Princess Rocket Cycle deck is a real thing. You don't even need an Xbow for it to be viable, but it does serve as a nice kind of supplement to the Xbow deck. And so here, you're going to see a nice start, and I think something we're going to see out of Smok a lot in this game is going to be the high Teslas, because that is something that's pretty underrated about the Xbow playstyle, where you can be very oppressive by winning bridge battles, and especially Evo Tesla, that just allows you to do that so often, because you can just go Evo Tesla high up, it'll pulse on everything, it'll die and pulse again, and it can just help you stop stuff at the bridge before they accumulate, and especially keeping your dagger Duchess intact. I think a big part of defending Monks, as you see right here, right as I was talking about it, he's going to go for the super high Evo Tesla. Probably going to go LP ability. No, unfortunately, the LP does get kite away by the Fisherman. But the Monk is still getting controlled pretty well. Does not ever cross the bridge. And good Xbow by Smok as well, just pressuring, kind of hugging that Tesla on the right side lane. And that's just going to be some nice pressure. We have the triple building set up right now, but unfortunately just not really getting much value at all, because a Fireball just does more than enough. But Smok is already back to another Xbow. Still not expecting anything out of this. I mean, the opponent literally has a Monk. It's still going to shut him down. But you can see that Smok's just going Xbow to pressure. Even though you do want to use the Rocket to Spell Cycle and win, Xbow's still an important tool in this deck, just to force responses out, really. We force the Monk out here, stack another Tesla. Notice the opponent has not really had a chance to ever build one Giant push. It looks like he's about to right about now, actually. But this is the first one I've seen. I don't think I saw a Giant before this. And Giant does come down. Smok's going to go for the LP low, Knight for the Evo Knight, and opponent has a bit of a conundrum here. Does he, you know, full send with a Giant, or does he defend the Xbow? And he obviously decided to defend the Xbow. Evo Tesla by Smok plus Log. Gonna try and get something done, but can't really do that. I mean, the opponent has Evo Knight and Evo Wizard. More than enough to completely shut that Xbow down. Honestly, a bit of an overcommit by Smok. And now he's in a bit of trouble because opponent's back to his Giant and about to go all in, like, crazy push. Monk as well, but Monk was poorly played, and Tesla luckily gets right on the Monk. Also, Evo Skellies are a great option. Against some of these decks, they do a lot of work, like especially the Giant decks that don't have triple spells. Against the triple spell Giant versions, like, they sometimes started playing Rage, Arrows, Void. Against those decks, you never really want to, like, not that you even never want to use them, you just can't. Like, you can't really use Evo Skellies because they just get raged or arrows every single time. Then the opponent still has the other spell as another option. But against these decks, like, you know, this guy has Fireball Arrows. It's a minimum -2 to kill those Evo Skellies, so it's still a decent card in this situation. And again, stacking Teslas, high Tesla, the opponent has not really gotten any damage on Smok's tower. He's also being pretty wary of cycling his LP, like giving the opponent a fireball. Probably going to take the fireball right now, but this one is fine because he can rocket back. And opponent kind of has to predict a rocket with a monk if he wants to stop that. And it's really risky because if he messes that up, it's not going to be good. But huge push right now, dual lane as well with the Evo Knight in the other side. But Evo Scalers are also so good against Evo Knight, I really like it. And so, pretty much fully stopped. Monk is going to get there, and ability does come down, but a little late. I mean, it was still controlled very nicely. Opponent gets a lot of damage with that ability, or not really, gets a lot of, like, stunning time, I guess, but still, Smok going to get another rocket down. Not really a close game. Very well played. We watch from the opponent's perspective here, but still, he could never really just break through. You can see that even though he has a monk, it's a pretty bad matchup, I'd say. You can still defend really well and just bridge block with high Teslas and win the bridge battle, and then you can control the monk very easily as opposed to just kind of letting it cross and slide. So, very well played by Smok. Alright guys, and we got the final game, which is another game against this guy. He obviously queued again because he wanted the same matchup. He's also a decent player. I mean, he has a top 70 what looks like ladder finish. I don't know if I saw that correctly, but I think so. And yeah, he does obviously feel comfortable playing this matchup again. It is Giant Monk against Xbow after all, but Smok just showing that this version has so much potential. You can literally just go for high Teslas, Evo Tesla puts in work, you can rocket to get damage. Smok went for really good Xbows. I'm not saying he just turtled the whole game. He did pressure very well and tried his absolute best to break through, but the sad reality is you're never going to break through Monk, Giant, Evo Knight. So, great play by him to just kind of spell cycle. And now we're going to see a bridge block. Perfect bridge block, honestly. I thought that Monk was about to cross the bridge, but he had me fooled. It did not cross the bridge at all. You can see the high Tesla putting in work. Although, speaking of Tesla, that Tesla is now dead, and there's a huge push to deal with for Smok right now. Great E-Spirit, though, cleaning up those bats. LP in the corner, probably going to get fireballed off, but going to stay alive, and not actually getting fireballed off. Wow, so yeah, the opponent has to defend this now. Nice counter push, probably just going to Knight, that's all he really needs to do. He can even just go arrows, to be honest, but Smok might pop ability just because that Duchess is super low. I think it wouldn't be a bad play. Okay, maybe a bad play now that the opponent went for a Knight. But still, I mean, no damage taken. That's not really anything you can complain about. That was a pretty scary giant push, but great micro by Smok. You'll notice a big part of this deck is important defense, and micro is a huge part of that. You need to be able to defend all the giant pushes very effectively. Nice log E-Spirit there to just kind of stall a little bit. Monk really definitely going to come down right now. And it does actually die, though. Terrible Monk ability. I mean, he should have just gone for it instantly. I guess he was scared of Smok bridge blocking. I think this game came after the last one, because Smok shared the games in order from as far as I'm... Actually, no, this game was probably before. I don't know. I don't know which one was earlier, this one or the previous one, actually. But, either way, in one of them, Smok must have adapted and, like, learned the playstyle of his opponent. And hopefully the opponent did the same, but I doubt it, because he lost twice. But yeah, you can see E-Spirit is also so clutch right now because Night Witch is very popular as a giant support card, and E-Spirit just shuts down those bats very effectively. Beautiful chain as well onto the tower. Very strong in those offensive situations. Will we see another high Tesla to bridge block this Monk? We will. So high Tesla, high Scalies, high Knight, catches the Evo Wizard. What more could you want? Just really perfect play. That is pretty much how you control the Monk, I guess. Like, you just don't let it cross the bridge. And it's a very scary playstyle, because I feel like if you mess it up, the Monk will end up crossing the bridge, and you might just lose for overcommitting. But if you're confident in the playstyle, then you can do what Smok's doing here. High Tesla, high Knight, high Scalies. Barely, like, 0.1 seconds before it's about to cross the bridge. Block it, and don't take any damage at all. Force a bad ability to go to waste. So, you're going to see a nice defense here. Nice rocket. Defensive rocket also very much an underrated play with this deck. I think it's very solid, and against these huge pushes like, you know, Giant Night Witch, Giant Wizard, anything like that, it's very important to be able to recognize when you should get value out of that as well. Monk is going to cross the bridge this time. No, it's not. Dude, I keep getting baited, and so does the opponent. I swear, he's so good at this timing. Like, that was literally within, like, 0.1 inches of crossing the river and getting the opponent the value that he needed to get the Monk ability on the tower, but he just doesn't. And even if he did, Smok would still be in the lead right now because he took a nice rocket on that Night Witch before. Gonna go for the offensive bow because no Giant and no Monk and no Knight in cycle. He is back to his Monk now, but Evo Tesla is going to put in work. That's going to just invalidate the Xbow, unfortunately. Monk just kind of has a habit of doing that, but still shouldn't be too terrible. E-Spirit does come down to kill all these bats, and you see some crazy high DPS on the Giant before it even crosses the bridge. I think that's a very important aspect of this playstyle as well. You need to go for the aggressive plays and try and DPS stuff down before it really crosses, because if you do that, then the Duchess doesn't have too much work to do. If you overload the Duchess with stress, she will crumble and you might lose because she is very weak when she's on 0 daggers. But when she's fully charged and able to recharge as effectively as she can, she's a menace to society. So that's kind of what Smok's doing right now. Again, bridge block, like he's never letting any monks cross. I don't think we've seen a single monk cross the bridge right now, guys. It's actually crazy work. And we're going to see another Evo Tesla high up pretty soon. Probably after this wizard dies, because he does not want to give a free wizard hit on the Tesla, of course. But I think we'll see a high Tesla now. No, we don't. We actually wait quite a lot to see this Tesla. Okay, I guess he was waiting for the monk. Now we see the Evo Knight and the high Evo Tesla. Pretty high anyways. I thought it would be at the very top, but still high enough. Monk is going to die. I didn't really see how that died. There's so much on the board. This is a massive push. But Smok is totally comfortable. Look at this defense, dude. He fully shuts everything down. He's going to take no damage from anything. That was a double giant monk push, by the way. And Smok literally took 0 tower damage as far as I'm aware. Now, even more overwhelming pressure, but Smok is thankfully in the lead with his previous rocket, so he does not need to rocket the tower. Instead, just goes for a safe log, and that's going to be the win, just by a little bit. So beautiful win, and that's going to be yet another one against this giant monk player. So he beat giant monk twice. So that is pretty much how you play the deck, guys. We showed a game against a graveyard deck where you have to rocket cycle. We showed a game against giant where you still have to rocket cycle, but you have to pressure well. And then we saw a game against that other spell cycle deck where you also have to kind of rocket cycle, but you have to pressure. You can't just let them naked rocket you. So again, Smok was literally #1 in the world. Now he's #4, and he's going for even higher. So very well played to him. And thank you so much to Smok for coming on the channel. Hope you guys did enjoy this showcase. I was able to beat giant monk a little bit myself as well. Kind of feeling it. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Take care, and I will see you in the next one.